Welcome, everybody, to another installment of Chocolate Chat. My name is Chocolate Yoddah, spelled Yoddah, because film studios are litigious. And please do not adjust your screen. I know that in the other panel it looks like there's a burnt thumb, but I promise you...
I love you too. What can I say?
It's just my friend Wayne. Now, we're here today to talk about some new stuff going on in your life, but just in case there's some poor saps out there that don't know who you are, I'm going to do a quick rundown. All right. Number one, Chopped Champion 2011 on the Food Network show Chopped. World-renowned chef who was the former owner of Soul Flavors in Jersey City, New Jersey. Not that Ponce Place, Jersey in the UK. Talking about New Jersey. Anyway, one of my best friends in life for 34 fucking years. Yeah. Crazy. You had put out a line of hot sauces. Mm-hmm. And now, after the first four, you have two new flavors. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about it. Tell us about the new flavors of sauce.
Yeah, well, there are two. First of all, thank you very much for having me on again, man. I appreciate it. So, but the sauces, man, one of them is a smoked apple and butter and bourbon sauce. I came up with these sauces, man, just with playing with flavors and what have you. With the apple, smoked apple butter bourbon, I had a bumper crop of apples, and I wanted to trying to figure out how I can utilize them, other than just eating them. And I came up with this sauce. That was one. The other sauce, which I think is closer to my heart, is it's called Dragon Tears. And it was basically I came up with this the idea for this sauce with a really good buddy of mine who was a mentor. His name was Keith Jarrett, and while we were working together, we used to talk about different flavors and things of that sort. And I remember him talking about a hot sauce, if he could ever, what he would like in a hot sauce. And we were just, kicking around flavors, and that's how I came up with this. Now, my man Keith unfortunately passed away in 2018 from cancer. So, in his memory, I developed this sauce, and what I'm doing, I'm donating a portion of the proceeds from these sauces, from the sales of the sauces, to the American Cancer Society.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, thanks. So, this sauce, which I happen to have with me, this one, Dragon Tears, is really special. It's a special sauce, for me. Yeah. So, yeah, man, so that's basically where I'm at with these two things. I launched them about a month or so ago. I've gotten a few people who have already placed, who pre-ordered. So I'm going to be supplying them with that. I've sold a few. And, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But in either case, man, it's something that I really wanted to do. Something that makes me feel good. And, I know his family is very appreciative as well. Cause I've been speaking
absolutely,
to
man.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
when I saw the photo of the label online, I was like, oh, that's so cool, man. Because I remember meeting him. He was a good guy.
Yes, yeah.
Big-hearted guy, liked to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now, so the first time we did a podcast, which was a while back, we talked about your origins as a chef, and we don't have to rehash the whole thing because frankly it's mostly boring, but
no, you're terrible, man. You know what I mean?
But so how did the first inspiration for these sauces come about? Because I mean, your food is absolutely stunning to the senses. It's truly amazing. I feel bad for anyone who has not had the experience of having your food, because it really does stay with you. You know, once you experience Wayne's food, you're never the same again because all other foods pale in comparison. But so after being, you know, the Mozart of flavors and all this stuff, what was it that made you say, hey, in my next phase of life, I'm going to create these sauces?
Well, you know, it's funny you asked that because I used to have the conversations with my sisters, and they used to always, you know, when I started catering and what have you, they were also said, always said, Wayne, you know, you should try to market your marinades and your sauces and what have you. And that always stuck with me. I mean, it was always in the back of my mind. I thought about doing that, but I didn't. When I had the restaurant and I had the catering company, I really didn't have the time. So actually, during the pandemic and during lockdown is when I decided to develop these sauces and to try to market them properly. The West Indian sauce, one of the original line of the traditional West Indian Scotch bonnet sauce, I used to sell that in the restaurant, and you know, back in the day, and we sold it. We provided it as a table sauce, but we also sold it, you know, to anybody who expressed interest, you know, as an aside, you know, item. So yeah, really, it was during the pandemic where I took advantage of the time, you know, and was able to come up with a plan to market these sauces and develop them.
Well, there you go. So
Yeah.
you heard it here first. Pandemics are not all bad, folks. You
No.
know. Yeah. So now, you now reside in England,
Yeah.
right? And I usually refer to that as you're being a turncoat.
Yeah.
Even
A
though I
traitor.
know, I know you retain your American citizenship, but frankly,
Oh
we
yeah.
don't want you back. Um, so, how did that come about? Because I know that part of what informed that is that that's where your wife is from,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
when you met, she was living in Spain, but home is the UK.
Yeah.
So what was that process that you just decided, hey, fuck America, I'm moving to England?
No, 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 no. Actually, it's terrible, man. No, that was not my that was not my motive. Um, Basically, because Jill had spent 10 years with me in America and helped me to run the restaurant, what have you, and you know, I thought that once we sold it, you know, it would be great. You know, we talked about moving anyway, and we were thinking about different areas, and you know, the only other place that we thought we might want to move to would be San Diego. But if you look at the time it takes to travel from San Diego to England, because she wanted to go back to see her parents and family.
Mm.
That's 12 hours, and that's, you know, obviously that's you know, it's crazy. So we had spoken about moving back to, you know, moving to England, or her moving back, and you know, I had been there several times. I really enjoyed it. I thought it would be really cool, you know, to be able to be able to do that. But it was a bit of a it took a bit for me to get my head wrapped around it, only because, you know, at the time, you know, my kids were small. You know, they were still you know, they were fairly young, and my mother and my aunt were in nursing care, so I really had to like come to grips with whether or not I could actually go. And so that's why we waited. We waited for a while, you know, until obviously uh, my children had gotten to a certain age where, you know, where I felt that I could go, and they would be good with it, and I would be all right with it. And then obviously with my mom and my aunt, the situation wasn't going to get any better. So, and they gave me their blessing because I talked to them about it, you know, prior to doing it, prior to making the decision, you know. And on top of that, Jill had always said, "Listen, Wayne, we don't have to go anywhere until you're absolutely ready," which took the pressure off of me, which was, you know, really cool. So, and that really made it a lot easier for me to come to the decision as to, you know, to making the move.
Yeah.
But I mean, it all took time, and I'm happy that I was able to do that because, to be quite honest with you, me getting away from your was my major motivation. No, no,
Yeah.
seriously.
Well,
No,
so let me ask you,
it
how
was
long have
great.
you been
It
there
was.
now?
9 years. Going on nine. Well,
Damn,
actually, going
that
on nine
long.
years. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
yeah.
notice because I don't know when you're around. Like, who cares?
Yeah, but you missed my cooking book, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I miss your cooking. And no, I love the fact that I feel like I am in a privileged group of people that you
Yeah.
include in visiting when you come back. I don't take that for granted because I know
Mhm.
everybody wants to see you when you come
Yeah.
back, and I feel bad for you, so I always say yes.
You know you love
No,
me, man. What can I say?
hey, I do love you. You're a
Yeah,
hoot. I
yeah,
mean, your laugh alone is worth the price of admission.
yeah.
I as
Yeah.
and I become a dancing monkey around you because I'll do anything to get you to laugh.
Oh God.
Um, but this is, and we're coming close to Thanksgiving, and I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anticipate your yearly return.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
look
yeah, yeah.
forward to hanging with you.
Yeah, I look forward to it too.
So
Mm-hmm.
what's on the horizon? Well, before we get to the horizon, now
Mm-hmm.
since you've been in England, what have you been doing aside from the sauces? What's work look like for you?
Yeah, well, without mentioning any names, I'm working with a couple of the major football clubs in the fine dining department.
Yeah, in
So
American,
that
that's soccer, by the way.
that's
This
it.
guy, he's
Yeah,
gone
yeah.
native with this whole foot. Listen to him. Jesus Christ.
Bloody hell.
Kid from Hollis, Queens is talking about
I know,
football
right?
clubs. Shut up.
Hey, what can I say, man? When in Rome, man. What are you
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
do?
yeah. Like I always say, when in Rome, do the Romans. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my motto because I lived amongst white
Yeah.
people for a long time.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I
well, I
know
don't have a
exactly.
choice. I got to do some white
Yeah.
chicks. So,
Oh man.
so anyway,
Uh, yeah.
your work now, and I know that you can't mention any names because everyone that works
Yeah.
with you wants to disavow that. But anyway,
Yeah.
uh,
There you go.
what have you been doing?
Yeah. Well, okay. With that, like I said, working with the football clubs. Actually, I've been working at bail hostels, which are halfway houses.
Mm,
And what I found to be extremely rewarding is it being able to go in there and provide good food to some of these brothers and sisters that have recently come out of incarceration and are working their way back into society. A lot of times I get a chance to speak to them, and I'm quite honest. I'm quite frank, but quite honest with them, and I frankly tell them that but for the grace of God, I could be where they are. Because when I was 20 some odd, I got into all kinds of stuff as you know, and it's by the grace of God and really dumb luck that I didn't end up in prison. So
yeah,
I relate that story to them because they ask me, well, what are you doing here? Because they could tell I'm not from there, and I explain to them what the situation, and they all and then I tell and then they say, oh yeah, well, I wish I could go to America. I don't know if I'll be able to go because of what's been going on, but my past transgressions and what have you. And I tell them, I said, well, we start where we stand, man. And right now you're making an attempt to re-enter society and be productive. I said, let's start with that and let's see where you go. So anyway, I just try to encourage them. And it's that's like I said, I out of all the jobs that I do, to be quite honest with you, I get the most fulfillment out of those jobs.
yeah.
Doing that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, the fact of the matter is this, like,
Mm.
obviously money's important in the sense
Yeah.
that we've got to pay bills and sleep indoors
Of
and eat
course.
every day and all that. right? Hi, folks. If you are enjoying this video, subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, right? That helps us out. Helps the algorithm, you know, all that good stuff. Like, comment, and of course, share with a friend. It's not that hard. Subscribe, like, comment, share. All right? Back to the video. But a long time ago, I came to the realization that money doesn't motivate me at all. I honestly don't give a fuck about money. I drive a cheap car. I don't wear designer clothes. I don't have jewelry except a watch that was given to me for you know for being part of a wedding. You know, money can only address money issues. But the most fulfillment I've ever gotten in my life is when I help another person, you know, and especially if it's at a profound level. Like, you know, I used to speak in jails, in detoxes. You brought me to a detox one time. It was a detox or rehab, I forgot.
Rehab.
Yeah. So yeah, you brought me to a rehab one time to speak. And, you know, when you run into someone, and this has happened to me a handful of times, and it's been amazing every single time it's happened, where you'll see someone, you know, a couple of years, just randomly, you run into somebody a couple of years later, and they remember what you said to them.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And like how impactful that was. And like, I didn't even remember what the fuck I said, you know, but it meant something to them. You know, I'll tell a quick story about that. Because we haven't spent enough time on me in this conversation, and I don't like that. But I remember one day I was in a meeting that I went to for 6 years until 1993, and I just shared from the floor. And it was just whatever was on my goofy fucking mind at that time. Meant nothing to me except, oh, you know, I just feel like sharing something, right? And what was interesting was it was a meeting that I didn't normally go to. I just wound up there somehow, you know, probably hanging out in the area with friends or whatever. And a few months later, like I think 3 months later, this woman who I had never spoken to before came up to me and she said, "Do you remember being at so-and-so meeting?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was the only time I ever been there." And she said, "I was going to commit suicide that night.
Whoa.
And what you said changed my mind." Ooh, I just got goosebumps thinking about that.
Like, so did I. Yeah.
Because like you get hit with this like whole like, I'm a talking monkey. What the f are you talking about? Like something I said affected you to the point where you decided not to kill yourself? That's crazy.
That profoundly. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. And I, you know, I consciously talked somebody else down from suicide one time, and that was amazing also. But like I knew that that's what I was trying to do at that time.
Right.
Still amazing, of course, but yeah, to just hear that. And like, you know, I was in Brooklyn one time, and some dude was like, you know, because I used to volunteer for this nonprofit organization that helped entrepreneurs. It's still around. It's called WeBo, Workshop in Business Opportunities. And I volunteered for 10 years, and I had a dude like, you know, 2 years later, he was like, "Yeah, I was in your class, and you said so and so," and you know, it's one thing to just like, oh, someone recognized my face and remember my face. But these people actually remembered the words I spoke. That's just wild to me, you know. So I definitely can feel what you're talking about with these people in the halfway house, man. It's extraordinarily fulfilling to have an impact in a positive way on somebody's life.
Yeah, and I just have to say something also, because since we're on the topic of you, it's important that I get this out. You are, and I've said this to you before privately and publicly, I feel are responsible, and largely responsible, for why I'm able to do what I do now. You provided me with the tools early on, in my recovery, to be able to address and assess certain issues in my life, which I probably would not have been able to do on my own, especially back then. Who knows what I would have come in contact with as time went on. But the fact of the matter is that you were there for me and have been there for me, since that time, 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
And brother, I love you, and I know we joke around and we carry on and what have you, and a lot of people probably don't get it. And to be quite honest with you, I don't care. But the fact of the matter is that we get it, and yeah. I wanted to just publicly say again how much I appreciate everything that you've done for me and how much I love you, regardless.
Oh, brother, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Regardless of how badly you treat me.
That you're understating it. I abuse the out of you. And what's good is that I'm consistent. I don't just do it publicly. I do it privately also.
Privately as well. Yeah. Well, we do it to each other privately as well as publicly. What can I say?
Well, no, I certainly appreciate that. And, and again, it's just something that this is what feeds me in life. Just knowing that I had an impact, and literally all I did was pass along the things that I learned. I'm lucky that I spent a lot of time learning how to communicate like that. That's what I've done for a living since 1984, and I'm a professional communicator. And so when I learned these things that positively impacted my life, I was happy to turn around and share them with anyone I could. And here's the thing, although I will not deflect your compliment at all, I fully accept it and appreciate it. The fact is that it was your work that really made the difference, because, it's that idea of pearls before swine. You could say anything to anybody and they will not do a fucking thing with it, but you put your head down and went to work and really turned your life around completely. Like your success is thrilling to me, because to see you go, like, I remember visiting the kitchen that you had in your mother's house where you started your catering business. That big fucking commercial stove that took up the whole basement of your mother's house. And, back in those days where I just saw it, I called you chef of the future, because I just, once I tasted your food, I was like, I just knew this is what, and I might have said this to you, but if I didn't, what I was thinking was, there's going to come a point where enough people taste this man's food, and it's going to be the tipping point, and it's going to take off, and I was right about that, because anything you made that people tasted was just amazing. Like your hard work, your dedication, your creativity, because, I don't use this word lightly, but when it comes to food, you're a fucking genius.
Thank you.
Like the fact that you can, this is why I refer to you as the Mozart of food, is because Mozart would conceive of music and then write it down on paper. And what's amazing about his writing was that there was never a correction. Normally when you see someone write out music on paper, there's tons of cross-outs and corrections and all that stuff. Mozart conceived it and then put it down on paper perfectly. And with food, that's how it works in your mind. Like you come up with these flavor profiles that nobody would ever think of. I want people to find the episode of Chopped where you won. Because, one of the judges is someone that I wound up meeting in real life, Amanda, right?
You mentioned.
And, there were 3 judges. Now, look, think about the job of a chef that's judging a food show. these people taste food for a living, right? So they're jaded, they're easily disappointed, and they're very vocal when they're disappointed, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But you could see when these people tasted your food, like there's this thing in psychology called a state change. That's when your physical body changes as a result of some stimulus. It's whatever's happening, whatever you're hearing, whatever you're seeing, whatever. When these people tasted your food, they had a visceral physical reaction of intense pleasure that was bewildering to them. They didn't understand why it was so fucking good, you know? And that's why, you know, when you put out a sauce line, I was first in line to buy that.
I remember.
I was like, yeah, man, I got to get my hands on this. And I don't even like hot sauce like that. But it's your hot sauce. So I was like, well, what the fuck? I can't, this dude made something and I'm gonna have it if I can, you know? And of course, you know, I remember that I, you know, I got the delivery of it and immediately I cooked something that I could put it on and it was the same thing for me. You know, it's like a shark biting into something. Your eyes roll into the back of your head. And you're just lost, you know, you get transported to fucking Narnia. So it's like, and if anyone thinks I'm exaggerating, I promise you I'm not. You know, get these fucking sauces, and I'll put the link to your website in the description of this. And you know, you gotta have it. You got look. Whoever's listening to this, please don't be a bag. Order these fucking sauces, okay? I guarantee you, and I'm not making any money for this. I'm telling you, you got to order these sauces. It will change your miserable fucking life. I'm so good at sales. Listen to me go.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, for real, man. You can't go wrong. If you produce anything that people ingest, you just literally can't go wrong. I mean, over the time that you had your restaurant, every time I went, I brought a gang of people with me. You know? And it was, and over the years, it was somewhere around 30, 40, maybe 50 people that I brought there. And I got to watch people's reactions when they tasted your food. And it was the same thing every time. And it didn't matter what they ordered. Even the fucking cornbread was out of this world, like nothing anyone has ever tasted. Real fucking corn kernels in it, made by hand, you know. And that's the other thing about your food. Like, you know, I used to tell people all the time, look, man, we're gonna wait a long time for this food because he makes everything from scratch. But I guarantee you, once that food hits your mouth, you're gonna be happy that you came here today. You know, and no one ever told me I was wrong. Like, you know, you could just see it. You see people tasting your food and it's almost like that. And your food was the reason I invented the word Budgasm. If you go to Urban, as a matter of fact, I'll put a link to that too. If you go to Urban Dictionary, you look up the word Budgasm. I'm the guy that invented that word, and I invented it because of your food.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, oh, I'm sweating. I get too excited talking about your food. I gotta go masturbate or something like that. I don't know.
Terrible, man.
Oh man, I bet you didn't think this commercial would turn out this way.
Not exactly. But then again, man, I know you. So, you know, it's like no holds barred, man.
You never know what you're going to get.
It's all good, baby. It's all good, man.
Yeah, good stuff. So tell everybody where they can find you online.
Sure, it's soulflavors.com, soulflavorsuk.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You either under Soul Chef Wayne, or Chef Wayne Soul Sauce. So, there's a couple of platforms you can find me on.
Yeah, I remember making fun of you when I first saw your website because it looks like soulflavorssuck.com. Soul Flavors UK.
Hey,
.com.
yeah.
But yeah, again, I'll put all these links up so people can find
Sure.
you. And once again, brother, always a pleasure chatting with you. I love you
Same
to
here, same here.
death. And
Thanks, brother. Love you
I
too.
look forward to seeing you soon, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll definitely hang out. I'll get, like I said, man. As we get closer to the date, I will, I'll get in contact and we'll set something up.
Sounds
Yeah,
good, brother. All right. This has
cool.
been
Yeah,
another
yeah.
installment of Chocolate
Cool.
Chack. Listen to me, Chack. I'm drunk. This has been another installment of
Not
Chocolate
again.
Chat. Peace, love, and granola. We'll talk to you all soon.